After building the exterior of the house in the previous episode, today I'm going to show you how we prepared and insulated the whole roof of our house, from start to finish. The first layer that we are installing is an aluminum vapor barrier. The purpose of this vapor barrier is to make sure that no water vapor passes from the house to the insulation, so the insulation always stays dry. Also, this one, as you can see, is an aluminum one. It is supposed to reflect the heat radiation, helping with keeping the heat out during the summer and inside the house during winter. I'm not too sure if I buy that completely, especially when it is covered, but that is what the brand says. The price between this one and a normal one was more or less the same, so I decided to buy this one. Installing it alone was not very difficult, but I could not go very fast, as I needed to be securing only a few meters at a time. Having an extra set of hands would have made this much faster, as you could just unroll the membrane and pull it, while someone else could staple it. Here I am cutting around the chimneys that we built in the last episode. The vapor barrier will wrap around them too. This is what I was able to do that afternoon. I started late, but got a good portion done. Next day, I already knew what I was doing, so it was much faster. I will unroll around 2-3 meters of membrane, then pull it hard and add a few staples. Once everything was in place, I will come back and staple the whole thing. Those days were so hot, we were around 37-40 degrees, and being on top of that reflective material, the temperature was much higher, and also the reflection of the sun was burning my skin very badly. It was a very windy day also, as you can see here, which made things a bit more complicated. On top of that, my stapler stopped working. I tried fixing it a few times with no luck. So I had to drive for a couple of hours and buy the only one I found. Not a very fancy tool, to be honest, but it saved the day, and the old one is trash now. With the new stapler in hand, I continued working. It was not very strong, so I needed to use the hammer to fix some staples here and there. Next day, Eugenia came to help. I had already finished the whole roof, and I was working on finishing the chimneys. She was drawing the lines where the two layers of each membrane overlap. They were wet from the morning dew, and the aluminum tape will not adhere. The tape seals the line between two layers, making it vapor and watertight.
Dá pro ano.
Alright, right after finishing wrapping all the roof up, it was time to go visit our latest volunteer. He is going to be helping us lift all the material that we need for the next task, all the way to the roof. Eugenia was going to be in charge of the controls. Magic Hands is back. As you can see here, Alex and Fernando were still working on the facade, all shown in the previous episode. We were wondering how we could actually do this, and Alex overheard us discussing it and recommended us to build a couple of long forks for the forklift.
Tu tem curtos, ele vai cair. O que é que vais fazer? Há lá montante e canal, faz tubo.
We built two long forks with leftover studs and tracks and fitted it to the volunteer. Then Eugenia got close to the package and we pushed it on top of the forks. It was not an easy drive, as the building site was a bit cramped, but Magic Hands figured it out. The idea was simple, to lift the panels with the volunteer all the way to the roof, but unfortunately our volunteer did not eat much when young and it is a bit small, so the only way to get any close to the roof was to actually load the panels on the long side, lift them and get as close as possible to the facade. That was too close, Eugenia, you actually hit the wall. The controls of the machine are very sensitive, and also on her defense, Alex and I were both eating her ear, so she probably was not even able to think. As you can see, we have a farming attachment at the back of the volunteer. It is the heaviest one we have, and it is just so it will balance the load and the tractor will not tip over. Here's the proof that the drive was very tight. since I needed to offload one board at a time from the roof, I cut both sides of the packaging before lifting the panels, as I could not reach later to cut it from the roof, but left the front of the packaging uncut, so the panels will still be attached when lifting them. All was going well and smooth, and no big issues until now. It was a very windy day, so I told Eugenia to be very careful lifting the panels too much, as they could fall on top of her. Unfortunately, this machine is very sensitive and we have not been using it much lately, and that is a recipe for disaster, as you are about to see.
Un poquito menos inclinado. Un poquito menos inclinado. Menos. Menos, menos. Entra. ¿El qué? Se está equivocado, ¿no?
Now, before the keyboard warriors start to criticize that that was dangerous and that we should wear a hard hat 24 hours a day, even at 42 degrees, I just want to say that I can easily not show this type of scenes in the videos. I mean, I don't use them as clickbait or anything like that, so I could just edit them out if you want to see a perfect build with no hiccups. But when you do things in real life, there is always some danger associated. Sometimes a small mistake like this, pushing the lever of the tractor to the wrong side when under pressure, can create a dangerous situation. But you will know that already if you do things yourself. One of the questions I get asked more often by you guys is how I'm able to work and train so hard all at the same time, and even during the hot summer. It has not always been easy. I had suffered from chronic dehydration for a long time without me knowing. I drank a lot of water, but I was not getting enough salts to replenish all I was sweating during the day. That developed very quickly into chronic muscular cramps that I suffered through the whole day. You can see me here wearing calf straps while building the foundation. Around a year ago, another athlete recommended to start trying salts, and that's when I started drinking Element. They are today's video sponsor, but as I said, I have been drinking Element for a year now, and I have never been sponsored by them until now. Element is a zero sugar electrolyte drink mix born from the growing body of research revealing that optimal health outcomes occur at sodium levels from 2 to 3 times what government recommends. Each stick pack delivers a meaningful dose of electrolytes, free of sugar, artificial colors, and any other bad ingredients. I right away felt the difference that I started drinking Element while building. I could work for longer during hotter days, and I would never feel dehydrated. Same happened during my runs. The cramps that I used to get during hard workouts decreased, and after a few months I no longer had them. Element helps me stay hydrated without the sugar and other bad ingredients found in popular electrolyte and sport drinks. Electrolyte deficiency or imbalance can cause headaches, cramps, fatigue, brain fog, and weakness, all things that I no longer deal with since adding Element a year ago into my daily routine. You can get a free Element sample pack with any purchase if you go to my link drinkelement.com/modernhousecabin. If you give it a try and you don't like it, it's risk-free. You can just give it away to a salty friend and Element will give you your money back, no questions asked. For that you need to use my link, that's drinklmnt.com/modernhousecabin, or use the link that I'm gonna leave in the description box to get a free sample pack with your purchase. And make sure you stay salty. Alright, before we start insulating, we need to wait for Fernando to finish cladding the top of the parapet with the MGO boards. Once he finished, we stapled the vapor barrier all the way to the top, and started preparing the insulation. After careful consideration of all our options, we decided to use PIR insulation, PIR insulation. It is 8 centimeters thick. There are many reasons why we decided to go with this material, and I am going to try to explain it here. First of all, we were limited to 8 centimeters height. Anything higher than that would have been too high for the waterproofing membrane to work properly. PIR insulation is one of the insulation materials with higher insulation capabilities. So for example, 8 centimeters PIR will be around 11-12 centimeters EPS or XPS, or even fiberglass. So by using PIR, we get the maximum insulation value as possible per centimeter. Also, these panels come in huge dimensions, 250 centimeters by 120 centimeters. So they're very fast to install, as you can cover a lot of surface per panel. Another reason is that they are very light. Our block-end structure is very sturdy. You saw that in the last 3 episodes, but it is still a light steel framing structure, so the less we load it, the better. Eugenia was able to help me that first day, and we got a lot done together. The panels go screwed to the roof using long screws and a plastic washer. I will show them to you in detail later. Then you need to hammer it slightly so the plastic washer does not stick up, leaving a smooth surface, as we will use this face to install the waterproofing membrane. Depending on some factors, you need to screw it more or less. In our case, we screw it every 60 centimeters. That means one line in the middle and then on both lines where the panels touch. You also need to stagger the panels. I just cut the last panel to size and use the leftover to start the next line. By the way, here is the detail of the washer and screws. The washers are 6 centimeters in diameter and the screws in our case were 12. And once you finish screwing, the washer has a cap so you can cover the screw head. That day I ended up working until night trying to get some progress. Regarding the PIR, I don't like to enter into eco-friendliness and sustainability of each material because it is a very tricky subject. I mean, all materials say they are super eco-friendly and sustainable in their websites and specification pages, some for one reason and some for others. In reality, companies just want to sell their products, and many, if not all, use sustainability as sales and branding strategy to sell as much as possible to make as much money as possible. That is how the real world works, and I am sorry if you think otherwise. And unfortunately, social media saw that trend and pushed it hard, using it for their benefit too, to to draw more views and create viral content. In the end, for me, as a self-thinking human being that has studied and worked as an architect for a long time, I have seen it pretty much all. And in reality, the only way to be truly sustainable while building is not to build anything at all. Period. Adding some eco-friendly branded product to your build does not make it sustainable. The moment that you build something, you affect something else. But of course, people need houses and buildings, so for me, the next step as close as possible to being sustainable is to build a house as well designed as possible that fits all your living and working needs, so you don't need to modify it in the future, hence creating more waste that will also last as much as possible, so you don't need to be rebuilding and fixing it every few years, hence creating more waste. And that it uses as little energy as possible for heating and cooling it. That is achieved by insulating it as well as you can afford and making it as airtight as possible. In this build, you have seen how we insulated all the foundations, the floors, and now we are insulating the roof. In the future, we will show you how we insulate the walls. On top of that, this house will run 100% from clean electricity that we will produce on the roof, so we will not be connected to the grid. Again, I don't like getting into this type of inflammatory subjects because I know some will not agree with me. People often get mad when they hear something they don't believe, especially if it makes sense. But if you ask me, will my house be sustainable? I will answer this house is the most sustainable house I can think of. It was carefully designed to not ever be modified. It is built as a tank to outlast us and my family, and it is going to be insulated and sealed like a fridge. And on top of that, it will run completely off-grid, only using electricity we produce. Did I use hay or cotton for insulation? No, I did not, because I believe there are other materials that do their job better at the three things I just mentioned. Alright guys, I started yesterday cutting trims of insulation to cover all around the parapet on top of it, and it has 2 layers of fiberglass. The good thing is that you can directly apply a PVC membrane on top because it's compatible with it, but the bad thing is that the fiberglass, when you cut it, it itches a lot, and yesterday I cut like 20 strips of them, and at the end of the day I was itching all over the place. I couldn't even handle it anymore. I had to go and use compressed air just to remove all the itchiness. And today I'm planning on using the vacuum, but it's kinda high to move it all the way up. Before that, I think I'm gonna change the bag. I am so going to burn that ladder once I'm done with the house. Alright, coming back, as I explained, I started using the vacuum that you guys gifted me to cut these strips. We finished all the floors with the 8 cm spear, and now I'm cutting 4 cm boards. We are using 4 cm for all the parapets, both for the front and the top. I started installing the top first, so I could later measure the exact height I needed for the fronts. My knees were destroyed from the fiberglass, so I ended up using this blue foam to protect them while kneeling. It was also to protect the pier, as you could leave some small indentation in it when you press hard with your knees. The brand says that the board recovers and comes back to its shape after some time, but I'm not sure I believe that. Insulating the parapet is one of those things that you might only see being done in this channel. Most of the builds just insulate the roof and be done with it, but you know, if you want to do things well, shortcuts are never an option, and insulating the parapet will make sure that the whole top part of the structure is properly insulated and we can avoid thermal breaches. By the way, thermal breaches for steel structures seems to be a concern of many of you in the latest episodes. If you don't know what that means, it means that when you have a heat conductive material that is connecting the exterior of the house to the interior. If it's hot outside, the material will heat up from the exterior and will bring the heat inside because there is not a break on the thermal breach. Really, any material creates these issues, from bricks, concrete, wood to steel, for example, and all need to be taken care of. But in this case, steel, since it is very obvious that it's conductive, it's one of the materials that most people are worried about. But I will make sure to talk about the thermal breaches and how we are going to avoid them once we start insulating the walls. After a few hours, I realized that it will be much faster and accurate to mark the boards from the back to know where to cut and get a perfect fit for the fronts. I did feel all the small spaces that I couldn't fill with the actual board with foam, The other day I didn't film it just because it's an ugly job, and now I need to clean it up a little bit without actually cutting the vapor barrier. Wouldn't make any sense to cut it now. I didn't finish yesterday insulating the roof, but tomorrow it's going to rain, and I want to get all the downspouts of the roof connected to the system, so when it rains it collects over here instead of like pouring water all around the building. And I don't know if you remember, but we installed this pipe a long time ago when there was nothing at the building site still. Now it's here and it's ready for me to continue connecting pipes. So I put 145, one elbow and a second one, and then ideally this is just a mock-up. The pipe will go all the way up, but I will slide it through these holes that Blocken left in the structure. There's a hole here and another hole on top of the wall, and the idea is to make a hole through the roof and slide a continuous pipe all the way from the roof to this location. So what I'm going to do now is mark the hole and drill it. I used a long 50 centimeters drill bit to drill a hole where I thought there was the center of the pipe. Then I will need to drill a much bigger hole to fit the pipe, but I will do that from the roof side. On the roof we will have 4 pipes, 110 millimeters of diameters each, to take all the water out of the roof. So I drill all the center holes one after the other. Then I went to pick some of the pipes that we bought a long time ago. They were a bit dirty after a couple of winters, so I cleaned them before installing them. And here comes the tricky part. I needed to drill the hole exactly to where I needed to go, because my drill bit was 113 millimeters and the pipe is 110, so I only had 3 millimeters of room. So I took a lot of measurements before drilling. First I drilled until I could not go any deeper. Remove the foam with a screwdriver and then continue drilling. Remove the foam from the bit and finally I was able to drill through the OSB. Now the moment of truth. Will the pipe fit? Alright, here is a detail of how it comes together. In Portugal they sell pipes that come with rubber seals, so you don't glue the pipes. First you need to fit the rubber seal in its place, and now I use some Vaseline to help introducing the pipe. Alright guys, I hope you enjoy this episode. It was a lot of work, and now we're ready for the waterproofing. I think that's going to come next. Thank you again for watching, for all the good comments, and I guess I will see you guys very soon.
if